Hi everybody, it's Brad with Big Family Homestead, and in this video edition of the Homestead Nation, Tommy, the Carolina Prepper, and myself have the awesome privilege of interviewing BC Truck. Yeah! Lots to do on preparedness and survival. We have a great conversation, so we're going to get right to that in a second, but before we do, I would like to let you know in advance, the way that we're doing these interviews is via Skype video chat. So sometimes the audio will not sync up with your mouth, and that's because of internet speed issues. And there's really not a whole lot we can do about that, but we figured that we would, the information would be more valuable to you than seeing, the old Kung Fu movie kind of a video vibe going once in a while. So just wanted you to know in advance, we're working on it. We're trying to figure out how we can get faster speeds, better connections, but we're on it, got it, wanted to let you know. Also, too, basically, please pass these videos around. Share them, like and subscribe them. It truly does help out all of our channels. The links will be down here in the description. Make sure you go to everybody's channel and do the same. Truly does help us out. Brad, see you guys later. Enjoy the conversation. So, welcome everybody to the Homestead Nation. I am Brad with Big Family Homestead, and we've got Tommy, the Carolina Prepper, and BC Truck. Dude, how you been, man?
Great, just doing great. Just enjoying the sunshine.
Enjoying the sunshine. Well, now here's the big question of the evening. Now, is this a regular truck, or are we talking like a monster truck?
Oh, well, an 18-wheeler.
18-wheeler, cool. So, all right. Well, here's the thing. We're gonna just jump in. Some of our crowd may know some of your videos, and that's great and awesome. Some may not. We're gonna introduce you to them. Hopefully, you will get a new audience. Hopefully, we will get a new audience. So here's the thing. What is the 411? What are you about? Why do you have a YouTube channel? What are you doing, bro? What's up?
Well, I started my YouTube channel as a means of protest when I had a Volvo 18-wheeler that broke down. If you slam the door hard, it would quit working. A sensor would go bad or a turbo. And that sort of morphed into showing things that I did on it, which was repair work and lots of it. And then it morphed into prepping. They're mostly prepping. I have other interests, and I do a lot of things, target shooting. I work on guns, carpentry. I like carpentry. I like mechanics. So if I find something, if I'm doing something that I think might interest people, I record it. And some of them get hits and some of them don't.
One of the things I saw on your channel that you got a pretty cool shop and you got a lot of stuff. And I see that you've been into building. Has it been knives?
It's clean, dude. Yeah. The shop is clean. The floor is clean. I could eat off that.
Yeah. Knives. I spent some money on some machinery, and turns out if I want to do top-notch work, it's not the right machinery. I can do okay work, and I really wanted to make knives and sell them. Mm-hmm. But to do that, you got to really invest some big dollars in some high-dollar machinery, and I can't afford that.
Yeah.
Even if I had a market for knives, this is not a real good economy to be selling things that people don't have to have.
Right.
So I'm going to make some every now and then and give them away, stuff like that. And I haven't sold one. I have given a lot of them away, though.
Hey, man, it's a great thing. Yeah, right. Hey, right over here. No, it's a great thing to be able to do, especially for subscriber giveaways and stuff like that. I saw them. They look good. And I'm not a big knife guy, so I wouldn't be able to tell you that, hey, this was top quality or not. They look darn good to me.
Well, thanks. I enjoyed making them, and it's really hot out there now, though. And I do have an AC, but I can hear the dollars ticking away.
So you're down in Louisiana, so that is definitely the hot and sizzle part of the country. And you drove a truck with your wife for many years. You were on the road, over the road trucker, and at some point you decided that you needed to start prepping. Why? What brought you to that point?
Well, I fell for the Y2K hype, and I started prepping back then, not knowing what to do. There wasn't the information out there that there is now. So I did what everybody else did, just throw money at it. I bought Spam. Lots of spam.
Dude, I've seen your videos. It's so funny because I can't get my wife to take a bite of it. Not one bite.
Hey, look what it's done to me. I used to be homely. Yeah, it took a long time to eat my way through that spam. My wife's the same way. She'll eat it to stay alive, but she's not eating it if there's, not a need.
You know what? Growing up in a household with 8 kids, there was a delicacy in our house. I didn't know it.
Yeah. Growing up, there was 7 kids in my house, and we ate a lot of spam.
Yeah. I didn't know any better. We used to have spam and eggs, spam on toast, spam and cheese. It was really.
Well, the crazy thing, guys, is that it's expensive now.
Is it?
It is.
It's freaking expensive because I honestly talked to my wife. I'm like, she's like, I won't have it. I'm like, well, they made this one little tiny little foil packet that's like one serving. I'm like, let me just buy this. You try it. If you don't like it, I'll fry it up. If you don't like it, I'm not going to ask you to do it again. And, well, it was like $2.99 for a serving.
Wow.
Jeez. That's crazy.
So, sorry, spam.
You can just eat salt.
So you threw money at it, you bought a bunch of spam, and Y2K never happened, so you didn't give up on the whole deal. Why'd you keep going?
I kind of backed out of it when nothing happened. About 2008. What happened in 2008 that really scared me? The election.
Yeah.
When, this may not be politically correct, but when Obama got elected, I honestly couldn't see how it was possible. Somebody with absolutely no experience and a very questionable record got put into that position. And there was a lot of other questions. We won't go into that. I don't want to offend anybody, but that scared me. And that also woke me up to how voters are not in control of their country. And I started prepping then. I started seeing the economy fail. It started failing when George Bush was in. Let's put that blame where it should go. I mean, I didn't like Bush any more than I like Obama, to tell you the truth. I'm not a Republican or a conservative or a liberal. I'm a libertarian.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Or a constitutionalist.
Here you go.
I really don't fit into either mold, but I do believe we need less government. And I believe the government that we do have should adhere to the Constitution 100%.
Imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, strange words, I know. That's strange to hear out loud. I'm probably the only one that thinks like that.
Yeah, no. Nobody else ever says this. Here's the question I have, and I'm just going to go there because it sounds like we've got some game happening here. Do you think there's a way back?
I did for a while, but I think we've gone so far. And it's not just government, it's our people. Our society has decayed and descended into debauchery. And I really don't think, our kids were raised by Xboxes, and TVs and cable and MTV. And the days of a parent being home to supervise kids and teach them right and wrong is long gone. Mm-hmm. And so what we have is an entire generation and a half, I think, of kids who only know what's best for them and not what's best for the country. And when you have an entire society of people growing up thinking, I have to do what's best for me,
I got to get mine.
You're done. Yeah. I think when you guys in your 40s.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm 55. And I
You
grew
look
up
hot, man. You look hot.
Well,
It's all that spam.
Work out. It's all the spam.
That's what the ladies say. Either that or, hey, get out of those bushes. I stole that. I got to give props, man.
That's awesome. I totally say, I used to work with Zig Ziglar, and he used to say the definition of originality is the ability to forget where you heard it.
Oh, well, yeah, I just made that up.
So
J0 said that. And,
so you recognize
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to just say, so you recognize there's a problem in society, and you kind of got to the point where you said, I just don't know that there's any way back. So you decided to do something to protect you and yours. What'd you start doing? Okay, the spam thing's behind you. Now what?
Finished the spam, and I needed water.
Yes. Wash it all down with some water.
I actually was
Takes
a
that
little.
sodium out. It's a cleansing. It's a cleansing.
I had hair before that spam.
I'm sorry.
I was a little more methodical this time. I went about it with a little more thought put into it, and I realized that without a definite source of water that you could drink right away, or at least purify and make drinkable, nothing else mattered. If you couldn't supply yourself with water first, all the spam in the world wasn't going to save you.
What'd you do
Dude,
about
now,
it?
but wait a minute. You live in Louisiana, right? Isn't that pretty much just a giant sponge?
Yeah, I didn't have to go far for water, I'll tell you. And, you know, there's bayous everywhere, lakes everywhere. We are a land of water here. You can't drink it because this is also the land of fracking and oil wells.
Yeah.
But you could purify it if you had to. So I decided to go down, and I only went down 8 foot, and I hit water in my backyard right outside, just 20 feet from where I'm sitting here.
Wow.
And I used a fenced post auger to do that with some 4-foot extensions.
Wow.
And, yeah, I was surprised I hit water. I had no idea the water table was that high. And I've had it for 4 years now, and I've only ran dry one time, and that was last year, which was the last year of a 4-year drought. And I did have some water in it, and I could have pumped, every day I could have pumped a few gallons out, so I still could have used it. I just wasn't getting the 5 gallons every time I pumped the handle. I'd get, massive quantities of water, and I'm back to that now.
So based on the videos that I saw earlier, or the late winter, early spring, it looks like Mother Nature's made up for that drought and then some.
Good Lord, I'm telling you. Yeah, my garden's a wash. It's just gone. Even the deer won't bother it, so that says something.
Really? Wow.
Usually it's a constant battle with the deer.
So you got yourself a good source of water. You obviously have some skills in the shop, which is invaluable. What else?
Well, I wanted to show people, and I have on my videos, that you don't have to drill a well if you can access water, even a swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
That's an awful lot of water for a family. I don't know how long it would last, but you could purify it, and there's several ways of doing that. You can use SODIS, which is solar distillation.
Mm-hmm.
You can distill it, and I've done videos showing people how to make a really simple distiller, and it works great. I actually went down to the bayou here, dipped out a bucket of water, purified it, distilled it, and drank it on camera. And so far, I'm pretty good.
You got this weird tick, but everything else seems to be okay.
So water, to me, is important, and there's another method I'm researching right now, solar distillation, but it's this massive table, and with a plexiglass top,
Mm-hmm.
and a little tray. It's a tilted top, and as the water evaporates onto the plexiglass, it rolls down into a tray. That water that evaporates is pure. It's clean, purified.
Mm-hmm.
You can drink that, and it rolls down into a tray, rolls into a bottle. You can, save that. And overnight, heats up during the day, and overnight as it cools down, it, what's the word?
It's yummy.
There you go.
At
least
condensation. So,
yeah.
so how big or how many gallons go into this distiller, and how much do you get out from the condensation overnight?
The one I'm researching now, or the one I built?
The one that you built.
Oh, as big as your pot. As big as you can bring something to a boil. If you had a 5-gallon pot, you'd have to have a big burner.
Mm-hmm.
You could distill that much water.
Yeah, but you talked about the one that you built, the solar distiller.
That's just solar distillation is a clear bottle.
Yeah.
Can't be any more than, I believe, 6 inches thick, because
Okay.
the sunlight won't completely penetrate it.
Uh-huh.
And just sit it in the sun.
Okay.
They make these things called WAPIs, W-A-P-I, and I probably got them in here somewhere, but I don't want to go digging around right now. And what they are is a wax thing that shows you when it's reached 165. The wax has a melting temperature of 165 degrees, which is the temperature that kills all the bad stuff in water.
Okay.
So when that melts and comes down to the bottom of the WAPI, you can drink it.
Okay.
And that and UV, between the temperature and UV light, it kills the bad stuff. Yeah, it's been an interesting. It's been a couple 3 years of me, reading and researching and experimenting and all that. And I put my money where my mouth is. I drink it, and I drink it on camera.
So you got the water thing all set up. What are you doing for food?
Well, I'm not a hunter. I would fish. I have fished, but to me, it's like watching bowling. It's just not fun. Sorry, bowlers.
That shouldn't even be called a sport. I don't know why they call it a sport.
Hey, I'm an athlete. What do you do? I drink beer.
I'm built like a bowler. I have a bowler's body. Go ahead.
I look like a bowling pin.
I have a sumo wrestler's body, so I guess I'm an athlete.
Yeah.
Well, I just store food, man. I store lots of food. Rice, beans. Beside me here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 5-gallon buckets of rice and beans, and they're only in here because they run out of room everywhere else.
10-4.
And I also plan on, I live in a neighborhood of 8 houses, and I can't bring myself to approach my neighbors about prepping.
Mm-hmm.
But I also can't live with the thought of eating and letting my neighbors go hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So I've stored enough food that I can keep my neighbors alive long enough for us all to put our heads together and figure out what we're going to do should an event happen that requires that.
Good man.
I'm not going to let people starve if I can help it.
Dude, let me ask you this, because you and I have talked off camera about, well, you've said that there's some reasons why you can't move out of there into a different area that might be a little more secure, and you've got some people that you take care of that we will not name them or anything like that. But first of all, thank you for being a human being. Well done. But secondly, my point is this, or my question is this rather. Now that you've kind of know you're not going anywhere, there is no bug out location, there's nowhere to go, you're there. What would you give advice-wise to people that, frankly, you're where you're at? You're not getting anywhere for whatever reason. You're not going someplace else. There is no bug-out location. What would you recommend to them? What are the steps you would say, do this first, do this second, this is what you need to do?
Well, I kind of live in it's not bad where I live. I mean, if you had to bug out, it would not be a bad location to bug out to. It's a very small town, 1,000 people. The closest town is about 8,000 people, and that's a few miles up the road. And then to my west is a town of about 30,000 people, but that's 25 miles from here. So I say secure your perimeter fences and then figure out a way to maybe cover your windows. I haven't done that yet.
Why are you saying cover your windows?
If you have food and light, medicine, alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, whatever people are wanting, they're going to find a way to enter your property and get in your house. And if you can cover your windows, they don't see the light. They may not smell you cooking. And if they want to get in, it's going to be a whole lot harder to come through a sheet of plywood than bust a window. Mm-hmm. And it gives you time to get out there and stop them.
Right.
And I'm not a violent person, and I don't condone violence. I have guns. I have lots of guns and lots of ammo. But I sure don't want to shoot anybody, man. And I'll tell you the truth, I would rather give somebody some food and send them on their way than shoot them. But this, I'm also a realist. 30 years as a trucker taught me one thing. There are some truly evil people on this planet.
Yep.
And what you and I, what we could not imagine doing to another human, those kind of people, it's an everyday thing for them.
Well, and also I think in the SHTF situation, people are going to do all kinds of things that they never thought that they were capable or were possible to do prior to. So it's going to be a whole different game. But it's encouraging and refreshing to hear you say the things that you just said. Brad and I have talked in other conversations where we talked about people that we meet in this prepping community that, frankly, their first go-to is, hey, I'm going to just shoot them. I'm going to execute the person. And the fact that you're taking the time and putting some money into putting back extra supplies to give to the people that may otherwise, frankly, let's face it, they may otherwise be a threat. I I think doing it this way and thinking ahead, if you have the means to do it, it's a much better, much more humane, and the kind of society I hope we end up having, rather than
What this is?
people.
This, hold on. There we go.
Hey,
This is a water filter that I made.
sweet. Oh, look at that. Is that the Berkey Black?
Yeah.
Sweet.
I have 3 of these.
I thought it was a distiller.
I didn't make them for me. I made them for neighbors. I
How
have
do they
my
work?
own Berkey.
How do they work?
Same way as a Berkey. You pour the water in, you let it filter out into a bucket below. I mean, they're all, I have 2 of them right here. I have a third one in my shop.
Okay.
And I had extra filters and extra spigots, and I decided to just go ahead and make filters because I have one family at the end of the road that has a bunch of kids, and I cannot see them drinking pond water.
Right.
And it's just too simple to, I got probably $10 into this.
All right. That was my
So
question.
you're saying with the filter, it's $10?
Well, actually, the filter is kind of expensive. The other parts, I've got about $10 into the spigot and the bucket.
Well, I'm asking for my own selfish purposes because, boy, I'd like to have some of those laying around, passing around. What are we talking? $50? What are we thinking? $100? What are we talking?
Well, the black filters are like $100 for 2 of them. But I found a place that has white filters that supposedly from the reviews are better than the black Berkeys for half the price.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm fixing to show you.
Ah, okay.
All right.
These
He said fixin'. He's from the South.
Fixing.
These are $100 Berkey filters.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I would only use them if I was pulling water out of the dirtiest, most polluted water because they're very expensive. Here's an extra spigot. I can make another bucket for people.
Yeah.
These are what I use now. These I use every day. This is what you're talking about.
Yep.
$29 for 2. For 2. $29 for 2.
Is that what they are now?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Well,
that's what I use.
people had problems. I guess there were a lot of people talking about the black Berkey filters on the reviews where the glue was coming apart and the filter was coming off, and you didn't know it because you're pulling a tap unless you look in there and see the filter floating. You're not sure. So you could be drinking contaminated water. They said that the filter that you just showed is much better. The glue is much better, and they filter just as good.
Let me tell you my experience, and I got into a very heated email discussion with a Berkey representative, and he threatened. Well, and I was surprised that he actually contacted me because I'd only had my video up of the broken filters, and my attempts to get them to warranty them. I'd had the thing for just a few months, and I went to unscrew the filters and to take them out to clean them. And they completely come separated from their base, and they had already been somewhat separated. So I had been drinking unfiltered water, not knowing it. Mm-hmm. And if I had been getting my water from a very polluted source, I'd have been sick, maybe dead. Who knows what was in it, Mm-hmm. But I was just taking tap water and running it through there to remove the chlorine. But they made no effort to recall them or warn people. It was only after a whole bunch of people started making noise on YouTube that they admitted there was a problem. They changed their adhesive, and they really didn't want to replace the broken filters, but they did if you put up a big enough stink, and I did. Mm-hmm. I still get an email from them every once in a while asking me to take my video down because they did replace my filters. And they said, if we send you 2 new filters, will you take your video down? I said, sure I will.
So now you have 65 different filter boxes, and the video's still up. Good for you.
No, that one box I showed you, that was the box they sent me. And I said, the spigot's leaking too, so they sent me a spigot.
They tried to buy you off.
And I did for a while. I did put it on private, but it got to eating at me that there's still, who knows how many filters there are out there still that people, you bought a Berkey filter and you put it up for hard times and you never checked it out.
Yep.
And when you really need it, that's when you discover that the glue's not holding. And by then, you're not going to get any more.
Hey, man, I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. Dealing with new YouTubers, new people, new channel, every day it seems like I literally talk to somebody every day. And I was sharing this with Tommy that like people will call me and say, "Oh my gosh, Brad, I don't think that the country's going to be solvent much longer." And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, just now getting that?
Yeah. And they're like, "Why aren't you freaking out about it?" Because I've been doing this for 6 years, 7 years. What would you tell somebody is a good starting point if they're feeling this pull, this push like Tommy's talking about? Like, we know instinctively there's something wrong. What is outside of water, outside of food? Because here's the thing. Yes, you need food and you need water. What's step 2, I guess I should say?
A renewable source of food, which would be, for me, is chickens. I live in town, and I do have to comply with some city ordinances. I can have chickens, and I have 15 of them. In hard times, I'm sure I could get away with having pigs and goats and all that, but chickens, a couple eggs a day, you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's 100 calories per chicken egg.
Yeah, and eggs contain just about every mineral and nutrient you're going to need. They're really healthy. And most municipalities will let people have a few chickens. I mean, you could call them pets. You could name them Ruby. This is my pet Ruby. And if it's a pet, you can have it. I mean, there's some gray areas, and a lot of municipalities will outright let people have chickens, provided that their neighbors don't complain. And there's no rooster. I had to get rid of my rooster.
Time out. Here's a thing that I just found this out, and I tried it for myself, and I cannot believe it, but it works. There is a device called a no-crow rooster collar, and it's like a little collar that goes around the rooster's neck, and it makes them sound totally pitiful. They go, it's horrible, but you can keep the rooster. They still do what they think, but they go, ah, ah. Because what it does is it keeps their crop from expanding. So they push all that air in there into their neck, and instead, what you get is they sound like they're. Yeah, you can pick it up for $20 and you can have roosters, man. I'm telling you, it works. It's ridiculous. I didn't know about it. Now I know about it because I'm getting sick of buying freaking chickens.
Well, I had to get rid of the chicken for 2 reasons. 1, the crowing, and 2, my wife was going to kill it. Yeah. That rooster, morning, noon, and I don't know when he slept. I mean, he crowed morning, noon, and night.
No, how big is your place down there? You got some acres?
Yeah, 5 acres. Yeah, okay. And about a third of it is woods, and the rest of it is lawn.
Yeah, right. Okay, you're spending most of your time out there doing that. Do you feel as though that's the right amount? Like I'm looking for land right now to homestead. I have my off-grid property with my bug-out location, and that's much bigger. But I'm looking for something to homestead. What would you say is the right size piece of property? I know there's people that do it with a third of an acre, but
yep.
Yeah,
I would say an acre. For a small family or a couple, I would think an acre would be enough to sustain you.
But I'm talking about having some room though, so maybe your neighbors aren't right up on you. I mean,
well, that's the thing. No, if you don't have good neighbors, you got to have neighbors that don't mind the smell of animals and stuff like that, and don't bother you at night. Their noises and fights, parties, or whatever.
But I mean, would you say that your 5 acre piece, are you situated in a place to where, you're not bothering neighbors, they're not bothering you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I'm surrounded by woods, and I bought land that I didn't really need because I didn't want neighbors, and my neighbors bought land because they didn't want neighbors, so everybody's
best neighbors.
Yeah. All the people around here bought up land as it's come up for sale because they don't want people moving in underneath them. So
it sounds like heaven. Why do you want to move?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. My motivation for moving was my proximity to a nuke base, a SAC base, Strategic Air Command. I'm 22 miles from it, and if they were to nuke it, basically I'd have to kiss my butt goodbye.
Yeah, I don't know that you can get far enough away for those things. Obviously it's something that you have to consider when you're looking at property, but they're everywhere. I mean, the nuclear power plants, the Air Force bases, these things seem to be everywhere. It's tough to get far enough away. But I know you mentioned, like so many other people, looking at property in the Ozarks. What What makes you think that's the place to be?
Well, it's the Ozark Plateau. If you read a little bit about the Ozark Plateau, it's an awful lot to go into. And some of the reasons are personal. I personally believe that area is protected by God. I believe God has his hand of protection over that area. I feel called to that area, but I do believe that if God wanted me to be there, he would find a way for me to get there. So I'm just not going to sweat it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's elevated. It's independent of other. It has its own water. It has aquifers underneath it, rivers, lakes, streams, good clean water everywhere. It's a high elevation. It's a somewhat rocky soil, but there's plenty of people that homestead there and do just fine.
Well, and that's the other thing. It seems as though a lot of people are being called to that specific geographic location. I mean, obviously there's people homesteading and prepping all over the country, all over the world, but I see a lot of channels that are specifically originated right there in the Ozarks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's the home of the Clintons, so everybody's happy there. There's no corruption going on or anything like that.
Lots of suicides there, though.
Oh, Vince. What's his name? Vince.
Vince
Foster shot himself in the head and drug himself out in the woods.
He's very talented. He's a very talented guy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but we're supposed to just, slop it up, and we're supposed to just believe everything that comes across the airwaves. And yeah, you know what? I'm tired of it. You know what? It's clear to me that the news is bought and paid for, except for very small slivers of people that are probably risking their lives, to tell you the truth. And I think that the fact is people are waking up to it, and they're not buying it anymore. And that's, I think, why we're waking up. That's why we're waking up, because all of a sudden now it's different. It's wait a minute. That's not plausible. There's no way. There's no way that he shot himself and drug himself out. Blah, 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 blah. And
it's just one of thousands of instances. The guy that was blowing the whistle on vaccines just had a mysterious death.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I don't know.
He hated himself, and that's why he outed the whole vaccine thing and then killed himself.
I think that's why a lot of us are starting to feel this increased pressure or sense of urgency. There's a quickening that's going on with the powers that be pushing this agenda down our throat. And I speak to a lot of people about it. I know Brad and I have had this conversation. Sometimes I say, am I feeling this quickening because I'm now awake to what's going on around me, so I see it more, or is there really a quickening? And I've come to the conclusion that there really is a quickening, because there's so much more information that's not bought and paid for, that's from the alternative media, that's on this internet, this free internet that you and I and anybody can get on and disperse information on. And I think it's got the powers that be pretty darn scared, because we're starting to wake up in droves. And they can't keep a lid on it. So they're having to really quicken the pace of their plans to get to whatever final solution they're trying to get to. So,
well, I think the internet is mostly responsible for people waking up. And I do believe they're going to try and control very soon the information that people are able to share on the internet.
Yeah.
Right now, what are they trying to do about gun channels, people who share information on guns? I believe they've come up with something to control that.
Yep.
I also believe that they're going to do something to make it harder and harder to buy guns. And I believe that Christians are being surrounded by political correctness, where if we want to observe our faith, we are racist or homophobic.
Now, here's the thing, because people on my channel know that my job, I'm a praise and worship leader at a church. So clearly, I'm sympathetic to the cause. But now here's the thing that I have to ask. Why are Christians targeted? Why not Muslims or Jews or anybody else? Why? Because, yes, it's very easy to see if you look in the news right now. Obviously, ISIS, they're targeting Christians. They cut their heads off of these people. But why is it that the United States government is on us? Why?
I think because Christians aren't willing to accept corrupt politicians. And I believe, well, this is going to make people mad, but I believe people who aren't Christians are a lot more likely to accept dishonest politicians as long as it makes their life easier. Like handouts, government handouts. If it makes people who are dependent on government handouts, if it makes it easier for them to get, they're going to accept a crooked politician as long as their life doesn't change.
They don't care. That's it.
Right. If it doesn't upset their status quo, they're quite happy to let another philandering Bill Clinton in, or a lying. What does it matter?
Harry Reid, whatever.
Yeah. At this point, I hardly even think voting is worth the effort it takes, because you get one corporately sponsored president, or you're voting for Halliburton or Monsanto.
Well, it doesn't it make you sad to say that? I mean, for years I've been voting, and I've argued with people that say, it doesn't matter, I'm not going to vote. And I used to argue and say, people died for your right to vote. You owe it to them to get up there and vote. Now I look at it and I say, you know what? Most of the people that vote don't know what in the heck they're voting for. They're just misinformed, uninformed, uneducated voters that are voting for the person that looks best on TV, or that the guy on the news told them to vote for, the sign out front told them to vote for. I don't want them to vote. And then when you come to the realization that it doesn't matter, they're both bought and paid for. Okay, 90 some odd % of the time, they're both teams are playing for the same boss. So I like you, I've come to the conclusion that it doesn't matter, but I'm trying to come up with a solution and live in the solution, because we all know there's a problem. I'm trying to come up with what is it can we do? Because I got a strong spirit, and I am a proud American. I'm a patriot. I don't like my government, but I love my country, and I love the spirit from which my country was born. So what can we do? What can we do as Americans, as individuals? I'm not talking about the collective. As individuals, to make a difference in our bubble, and if enough of us make a difference in our little bubble, maybe it'll have a greater impact on the county, on the state, on the country.
I think if we don't demand that people identify themselves at polls, we're going to be just awash in people who vote for self-serving purposes completely.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, because regardless of who they vote for, they're bought and paid for, right? So yeah, I mean
if they can't vote, then they can't vote for their own self-serving interests. And I also think there ought to be a quiz to vote. If you can't name who's the vice president is running, if you can't name your senator, your congressman,
Dan Quayle, isn't it? It's Dan Quayle.
Right? No,
potato.
I don't disagree with you, but obviously you can't change that. I can't change that. So what is it you can do? What can I do personally to hopefully make an impact in our bubble? And then maybe if enough of us do that individually, collectively it'll make a difference. Any thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts. I don't have any answers. I'm kind of at my wit's end. I'm at a loss. I'm at a complete loss. I served my country. I served in the Army back in the 70s.
Thank you.
And back then, I was gun-ho American. Flag, fly. I still fly a flag. I mean, I love my country like you. Love my country, despise what's become of my government. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the answer is. I used to be proud of my country, but honestly, I'm not proud of it anymore. When we go invade countries because of the resources, and we leave it in a bigger wreck than it was when we got there, we're not doing anybody any favors, and we're certainly not bringing them democracy. I do air quotes, but that just looks too girly.
Oh, come on, man. I've done air quotes before, and I got to go back and edit all my air quotes out. So I think some of what we're doing is we're waking up, we're getting new skills, we're preparing, we're educating other people. But I think the other thing, and Brad and I really talk a lot about this, like what can we do? I think this very thing that we're doing right now, hopefully other people are watching this. Hopefully it wakes up more people. Hopefully it makes them want to reach out and touch someone and teach somebody and wake somebody else up. Because I think that's the only way we're going to be able to have any kind of impact is if enough of us ants, and I'm going into the bug's life again, Brad, if enough of us ants stand up against the few grasshoppers, there's way more of us than there are of them, then maybe we can affect real change. And I'm hoping that what we're doing right now, the three of us, helping build community, reach out, meet people that we wouldn't have met otherwise through this awesome medium called YouTube. Hopefully, slowly but surely, we can have an impact. Like you said, the internet is responsible, or largely responsible, or the people disseminating this information on the internet, largely responsible for us waking up, right?
Yep.
So maybe that's what we're doing right now to help the collective, help the movement, is we're talking.
Well, you seem to have more optimism than I do.
I'm younger than you. I'm not, obviously not as wise.
Well, I feel defeated, man. And I feel like the only thing I can do at this point is try to help people survive the life we're probably going to have. And that's, I just built an outside kitchen. I think if people don't have a way to cook outside comfortably, it's better to have it now than to try to build one when you need it. I just got a solar panel yesterday. I bought the battery today. I'm going to be hooking it up tomorrow.
Awesome.
And I'll have running water outside off a 12-volt pump that will be charged by solar. And I've done an awful lot on water. I'm not a hunter, or else I'd show people how to hunt and skin. J0, he's got lots of videos on skinning and harvesting animals. And to be honest, I've never killed an animal and harvested it.
Not even one of your chickens?
No. My babies? No.
Joseph, come on down. We could do that in like 5 minutes. That's no big deal. Although I will say this, my son Jonathan, he's the second oldest. I was not prepared for how grossed out he would be. I swear, he was like white as a sheet, just sitting there like, I'm gonna need a moment.
Yeah.
And then my wife's in there. She's eviscerating the animal. The guts are coming out. Guts are coming out. Air quotes, because that's gay, I guess, or whatever. Whatever. So she sticks her hand in there and it goes, Arr! And Jonathan passes out.
Hey,
I know I could do it if I had to. I've watched enough videos. I've skinned fish. I've gutted and cleaned fish. But I've never killed a deer or anything like that. Just, it's not in me. I don't have the desire to. If I had to, I know I could if I had to.
Dude, I'm straight up not going dances with wolves, eating the raw, still hot heart. I'm not going to do that.
No.
But I will make sure the family's fed.
So I feel you. The fact that you feel defeated, I'm gonna challenge you to try to set aside what you can there and help. Listen, you're helping us right now, man. The fact that you're here right now, the fact that you're willing to share on your videos on your
Amen.
channel,
Amen.
That's a help. So don't feel too defeated. I can tell you that you've helped me take steps in my life to help better my life in the situation that I'm in and get prepared. So thank you for that. And I know that you've helped a lot of people. So don't feel too defeated. I get it, man. I get the fact that the country is going to hell in a handbasket, and we wished it was something different. We got to affect a change within us, because we can only control us and our reactions to other things going on out there.
Dude, you've paved the way. You've done this before we got here. Okay?
Yeah.
We are learning from you, and we're going to continue. We're going to be like, well, I don't know. I mean, Moses and Aaron. Moses needed Aaron to hold up his arms when the battle was going on. And bottom line is this: I need you just as much as you need me. And the reality is, you came first, and good and great, and we're all going to go through those seasons of being tried. But don't give up, man. And I don't feel that you're saying that. I don't feel you're saying that at all. It's just like getting kicked in the nuts. I mean, and I've only had that once in a while, and it sucks. But, well, my wife is nothing. But you get the point.
What did you do? I get what you're saying, and when I mean defeated, I mean that I just don't see our government coming back from the stench that it has become. I think it's just gone too far, and the corporations are just too deeply into the pockets of the politicians.
Yep.
What you're doing is trading lobbyists for politicians, like Monsanto. People who were on Monsanto are now part of the government, and people who people who were politicians are now lobbyists for Monsanto.
It's a revolving door. You're in the Treasury one day, you're in Goldman Sachs boardroom the next. You know, it's a revolving door. And you know what? I hope we can get back to a constitutional form of government, a constitutional republic. You know, we talk about that all the time. It's a damn near perfect document, and it's a pretty awesome form of governance. And certainly we're not going to get back there. There's no way that we can retrace where we've gotten to. Could you imagine if Ben Franklin, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, any of the signers of the Declaration of Independence woke up today and came out of the grave and saw where we were at? Could you imagine what they would say?
They'd be hanging people. They would literally be hanging people, stringing people up.
Well,
yep. They would be saying, we gave you the Second Amendment for a reason.
Yeah. Well, in the courts, you know, it's not the justice system, it's the injustice system. They're all in bed. The courts are best friends with the prosecutors and the defense attorneys. They're best friends with the cops. I mean, they're all working on the same team. There's not justice being served, because if there were, the people that you're talking about at Monsanto and in the government, they'd be behind bars. And they're not. So, But there are enough good people out there, and there's enough good people spreading the word, and we think you're one of them, so we appreciate it. We appreciate you coming on and spreading the word here with us today. We hope we can do it again and dig down a little deeper on some of the things you got going on in the homestead, and we're looking forward to seeing your new solar project as well as more videos on the kitchen. That's cool stuff.
I'll be doing that tomorrow, and I just want to tell you fellas, I really enjoy this format. I've watched every one of them, and you're onto something here. It's going to get big.
Awesome.
Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Bigger than me? I'm pretty big, bro. I can barely fit through a doorway now.
Brad, take us out, man.
All right. Homestead Nation, thank you, BC Truck. Honestly, guys, here's the thing. We have got to band together, because we're headed for a crap storm like no country has seen before. No country. Please, just start doing something. Get ready.
That's
Go
right.
buy some rice. Go buy some beans. Learn how to do something, anything. Be a good neighbor. Start. How about, for crying out loud, we find out who our neighbors are? Maybe that's a good start. Who the heck is that guy that lives over there? I don't know. Do something. And so from there, I'm going to say thank you guys for watching. Greatly appreciate all of you. Have an amazing day.